Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Virtual Church. My name is Bradley, and I'm glad we can get together, even though we cannot be together. Today we kick off our annual stewardship campaign, and our minister, the Reverend Jeff Breer, will dazzle us with his sermon on the amount. To accompany the lighting of the chalice, Gordon McKeeman tells us what it means to be human. We say we are human beings, but what does that mean? To be human is to be in touch with the larger rhythms and harmonies of the universe. To be human is to be aware of the beauty of creation that continually unfolds. To be human is to be a servant of the earth upon which our existence depends. To be human is to embrace the present moment as a sacred, joyful occasion. To be human is to nurture bridges of intimacy that are global and inclusive. To be human is to be in a state of process. To live, to love, to live, to love. The Reverend Dr. Gordon McKeeman was ordained to Universalist ministry in 1945 and has served several churches in New England and Ohio. He also served as president of Starr King's School for the Ministry in Berkeley. He died in 2013. His influence on the nature and shape of Unitarian Universalist ministry endures. We all have different reasons for gathering here each week, but we share this much in common. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. For a prelude, a song introduced by Gwen Verdon in Sweet Charity, Brian brings us his version of Hey Big Spender.
The minute you walked in the church, I could see you had a lot of distinction, a real big spender, rich looking yet so refined. Wouldn't you like to know what's going on in my mind? So let me get right to the point. It's time to make a pledge to HVUUC. Hey, big spender, time to make a pledge like me. Do you want to have fun? UUA, I can show you an angelic choir. We can grow a big membership. Do you want to have fun child care? The minute you walked in the church, I could see you had a lot of distinction, a real big spender, rich looking yet so refined. Wouldn't you like to know what's going on in my mind? So let me get right to the point. Time to make a pledge to HVUUC. Hey, big spender. Hey, big spender. Hey, big spender. Time to make a pledge like me. Time to make a pledge like me.
We will sing Loving Kindness next. Please light a candle to dispel the darkness, to honor someone or some event, or to bring light to a memory.
May we be filled with loving kindness. My name is Jeff Breer, and I am the minister of this virtual church. I hope you are doing well and you are safe. Please wear a mask when you go out in public, keep your distance from other folks, and when it becomes available, get vaccinated. You know, when I went to seminary, I learned a great many things. But one thing that my professors did not teach me is the traditional method of developing a sermon. Traditionally, a minister would be given or would choose a passage from the Bible and then develop its message into a sermon that addresses the needs of the congregation. Christian ministers even have a roadmap, so to speak. It's a book called The Lectionary, and it contains a 5-year cycle of biblical passages and suggestions for sermon writing. Me, I find my texts in other publications, like a book, a newspaper, or a poem, a movie, or a TV show. Today, however, I will revert to tradition and focus on a text from Paul's first letter to Timothy, chapter 3, verse 8. In the King James Version, the verse reads, "Likewise must the deacons be grave, not double-tongued, not given to much wine, not greedy of filthy lucre." In this letter, Paul is giving Timothy advice on how to run the church at Ephesus, a coastal town in what is now Turkey. Paul lays out the qualifications for his bishops and for deacons. He says candidates for church leadership should be respectable, sober, truthful, and not running a payday loan shop. Not greedy of filthy lucre. Now that phrase has really set a cultural standard for us. That phrase paints bankers, pawnbrokers, insurance agents, and stockbrokers as dirty. Even money changers at border crossings are tainted. It also covers loan sharks and pyramid schemers and lotteries. The phrase occurs not once but 4 times in the books of Timothy and Titus. Nowhere else does the phrase occur, neither in other letters from Paul nor anywhere in any Christian scriptures. And this odd expression is just one reason why scholars think that Paul did not write that particular letter, but someone close to him, perhaps a secretary. Now, I don't know for certain, but I suspect the Greek was translated that way because of a cultural bias towards those who dealt with money. The idea that money is somehow dirty and those involved with it are greedy may have originated with the folks who translated the letters and wrote the King James Bible. Remember then that the King James Bible was the primary book in the English-speaking world for about 350 years. And with good reason. Its poetry is transcendent, its images are luminous, and its storytelling is better than a John Grisham novel. The Bible fills more than 40 pages in Bartlett's familiar quotations, and so you know it's an important thing in the culture of English-speaking people. And so, along with the beautiful language and consoling passages, it's not surprising that many of the prejudices in the Bible have made their way into our society. Now, I bring this up because I am concerned by the effect that the phrase filthy lucre has on our subconscious mind. I think it may be somewhat responsible for many negative attitudes about money. We do some odd things with money. Because we think money is dirty, we don't want to touch it. We put it out of sight in a wallet or a purse or a piggy bank or under the mattress. We hide it in Switzerland or Bermuda. We avoid touching money when we write a check. We turn it into electronic gibberish when we use a credit card. We go to great lengths to make money, more money. And then we go to even greater lengths to hide it. Some people tell our government that they have less money than they really do. And then we complain about all the money it takes to run the country. We want money, but we don't want to deal with it. Displaying a big wad of bills is kind of vulgar. pulling out an American Express card. Now that's cool. And we certainly don't talk about our money in polite company. I mean, you know, when's the last time you asked your brother or your daughter or your friends about their incomes? When I was young, I don't remember how I learned this, but I knew that how much money my family made, that topic was verboten. It's almost required that we avoid touching money. If you lived a simple life, if you lived off the grid, you could probably pay for your needs with cash. But anything else can be a real hassle. Just try renting a car with cash or buying an airline ticket. You can't do it. You need a major credit card. You can wave $1,000 in the face of a Hertz agent and you won't get anywhere. Now, I can't imagine paying all my bills with cash. It seems the more money you have, the less likely that you are to ever see it. We don't want to touch our money, not even when we buy something. I'm annoyed. I'm really annoyed when I am forced to write a check or use greenbacks, like at the dry cleaners. It's a paper check or cash, or I don't get my shirts. But at Kroger, I can charge a loaf of bread and a jug of wine or a bouquet of flowers. I don't have to touch my money. The reason that this concerns me is not because the U.S. Mint will eventually go out of business when we become a cashless society. It's because if we don't touch our money, how can we ever do anything with it? How can we ever feel it's part of us? How can we ever use it if we don't touch it? You see, I think that money ought to be used. I think that the worst kind of money is that money that sits around doing nothing. Sir Francis Bacon observed that money is like manure, no good except it be spread. Now, he didn't really use the word manure, but a polite synonym for his day. And I don't mean to say that we shouldn't be saving what we should. Now, don't go out and cash in your IRAs and your Keogh plans and spread the proceeds around. That's not what I'm saying. But I lost whatever squeamishness I had about money when I sold cars. I wasn't all that good at it, so they kicked me upstairs to the finance department. And up there, I bought money and sold it as a profit to people who wanted to buy a car. I began to think of money as just another commodity, although a valuable one. I encourage you to jettison any compunctions you have about money and think about it rationally, because today we begin our annual stewardship campaign. This process will touch every member and friend of the church so that we can prepare a responsible budget. It's important that you participate because prudent financial planning must guide the economic health of this church. And here to tell us more about the stewardship campaign is Charlie Miller.
Today, we mark the beginning of the 2021 Stewardship Campaign. It is that time of the year when we ask our church members and friends how much they intend to pledge to the church for our next fiscal year, which is June 2021 through May 2022. This process is important to our church as pledges account for almost 80% of our annual income. Today, I'd like to reflect on the value of our Unitarian Universalist experience, share some changes we anticipate in the budget, and state our pledge goals. I'll also address how this pledge drive will operate in our socially distanced environment. First, I'd like us to consider the value of contributing to what the church offers. When I think of what I value in my church experience, it centers around building community, like the annual picnic, coffee hour, or belonging to Macho, participating in group efforts like church workday and pancake breakfast, and enjoying the religious services. For our 3 children, we rely on religious education and childcare services. We all have our own favorite activities, and they all require facilities, staff, and resources. The church is proud to be a beacon of liberal religion in our area, both for our current members and friends, and for those who haven't found us yet. I'm proud that we stand for something in the community, and am encouraged when I see us represented at public events. I am also glad even though I'm not involved in their work, that the Music Committee, Caring Team, Memorial Committee, and the Social Justice Committee enrich our community both within and beyond the church walls. If we want to continue to do these things, we need your support. As we introduce our pledge goals, it's worth keeping a few things in mind. Our estimated budget will ultimately be adjusted to account for actual pledges. Also, there are some unknowns that may impact the budget, such as predicting when we return to in-person services. If you want to see the budgetary estimates, they will be provided on the church website within the members section for your review. Please expect a communication to provide the link. For our current purposes, I'll focus on the major changes and the bottom line impact on pledge goals. Expenses that represent a notable change in the budget come from four main sources: a new minister, UUA fair share allotment, virtual programs, and having no mortgage. First, the time is approaching when we will vote on a new minister, which is an exciting moment for the church. Since they have not been chosen yet, we don't know their compensation package and have therefore planned for what is expected to be the highest amount. Second, each year we contribute our fair share to UUA, and the amount we budgeted in the past was below what is recommended for a church of our size and location. To budget the proper amount constitutes a modest increase. Third, conducting services virtually is somewhat more costly, and estimating the impact relies on assumptions about when we return to in-person services. All of these factors are partially mitigated by the money liberated in our budget by not having a mortgage. Fewer members using our facilities lowered utilities somewhat, and this will persist as we stay virtual. In total, expenses are projected to increase 5% from last year's budget. We have observed that conducting services virtually does have a material impact on certain categories of income that benefit from being in person. To balance the budget, more burden rests on pledges because they have remained stable in a virtual environment. We are assuming this trend will continue for some time. The total request for pledges represents an increase of 10% on last year's pledge amount. In a state of limited visibility, we have to plan for the more challenging scenario. Supposing events unfold in our financial favor, any surplus will provide more flexibility in future decisions. In the days ahead, you should receive a pledge card in the mail with a letter providing additional resources for choosing a pledge amount. Please submit your pledges either by mailing back the pledge card or responding via email or phone. For the first time, we are offering the option to receive these by email if you prefer to communicate that way. Once our Stewardship Committee collects all your pledges, we will take this amount to the Board of Trustees to develop next year's budget. The budget that the board proposes will be voted on at our annual congregational meeting on April 25th. If you have questions, please email me at stewardship@hvuuc.org. Thank you.
Our benediction today comes from The Hours, a book by Michael Cunningham. In the movie of the same name, Clarissa is played by Meryl Streep. This is a speech of hers about the present moment. I remember one morning, getting up at dawn. There was such a sense of possibility. We were going to do everything. Do you know that feeling? I remember thinking, this is the beginning of happiness. That's what I thought. So this is the feeling. This is where it starts. And of course, there'll always be more. It never occurred to me that it wasn't the beginning. It was happiness. It was the moment, right then. Our time together is nearly finished, but our work is not done. May our spirits be renewed and our resolve strengthened as we meet the challenges of the week to come. Please help me close this service now. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. My name is Brian Kleske, and I'm happy that you could join us for this service. Please come back whenever you like. We will post another virtual church service next Sunday. Please contact the minister or the caring team if you or someone you know needs help during this time. Our services are recorded in advance, so current events may move faster than our ability to address them in a timely fashion. However, you can find up-to-date information on local events, social justice issues, inspiration, and content for all ages on our Facebook page. To close this service, My New Favorites brings us an original song, Got to Have That Given. As you make your way through the week, remember that you are good, you are loved. We all need a little work, and we're all in this together. Nothing left to say but, yay, church!
Got to have that given on your mind. Got to have that given on your mind. You got to have that given on your mind. You got to have that given on your mind. When you sit underneath your steeple, you got to think about the people who are out there and they ain't doing too fine. You can do your part, you can feel it in your heart. You've got to have that given on your mind. You've got to have that given on your mind. You've got to have that given on your mind. You've got to have that given on your mind. You've got to have that given on your mind. Have no shoes, but there's a man who has no feet. You can help him up, lay it on the line. You can do your part if you feel it in your heart. You've got to have that given on your mind. You've got to have that given on your mind. You've got to have that given on your mind. You've got to have that given on your mind. Got to have that given on your mind. There's a child who has no mother. You can treat him like a brother. Don't you walk on by and act like you are blind. 'Cause he is you and you are me and I am him. And don't you see, you've got to have that given on your mind. You've got to have that given on your mind. You've got to have that given on your mind. You've got to have that given on your mind.